Good morning, guys. Bob, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well today, and depending on where you're located, the storms that are happening and going on, hope everybody's safe. We had some of it come through yesterday. Fortunately, for our area, we didn't get anything more than a lot of rain, but I know there's some areas being affected, so I hope everybody's safe. Just working on some Texas stuff. I just kind of wanted to hit a rock today. I've been doing a little bit of pressure flaking the last couple of days, and just kind of getting back into the swing of it. I've been a little in a funk for a few days, well, week, two, but starting to come out of it on the other side now. So, Rhea, thank you for the gifts. Appreciate it. Good to see you in here. I enjoyed Colby's live this morning. That was nice. I got up and got to have a little coffee and watch somebody else flint nap in the morning. So I will try to make it in for that one in the morning. Just kind of warming up on a piece of this. I was hoping if Terry comes in here, if Terry Roseberry able to get in here today. I've got some material that he sent me that I'd like to work. Partly, I appreciate it, Rhea. Yeah, it's been tough. It's, I mean, she wasn't registered as a support animal, but she absolutely was my emotional support animal. I mean, she was my companion 24/7. So, you know, it's funny. My wife referred to my dog as my wife, and my wife was my girlfriend, because my dog wasn't having it any other way. So it's been pretty tough. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts and all that. There's a nice clean removal across there to get some of that heavy mass that was on this piece. I don't typically take big flakes like that unless I can work them into the strategy of the overall piece. I see a lot of guys that'll try to take big flakes too early, and you know, it can really alter the piece a lot or too much, to the point where then now you're working to get. See, I got another one right here that I can curl around if it'll go. There it went. But if you try to take too much too soon out of it, you alter the lines of the piece, and then you end up fighting all these big removals that you made that were so cool, and now all of a sudden they're the problem you're working out, is that big flat area. But see, had this area come in here from, you know, each side where I curled that over, and now I've got a ridge to be able to flatten this face, and then I can work on the other side to flatten it also. That'll actually make another point. But see, all I'm doing here is just going from edge to edge. It's almost like big. Oh, awesome, Rhea. Yeah, what I'll do is, I wasn't sure. He said he probably wouldn't be in here right at 8. So if when he gets in here, I'll either show it then, depending on what I got going on, or maybe at the end of the live, I'll take my phone camera and kind of swing it around. That way I don't have to try to reset it up. So, you know, it's tough making me look good on camera. So, you know, it takes a little setup. No, I heard him, you know, him talking, you guys talking about all the little nuances of when you start to go live, trying to talk to people. And, you know, I apologize a lot to folks because, you know, there's times when the room is really buzzing and you got 300 people in there, you know, or more sometimes, but, and you've got all these people asking questions, and, you know, I try to answer the questions. I mean, that's really the reason why I get on here is, you know, I love the interaction, but it's hard to keep all of those storylines going. And then if you miss one comment and you're thrown off, and the way my setup is, I can't really scroll back. So it can be a challenge for sure. Now see, we've got a lowered area here in line with that mass right there. I'm trying to stay away from removing too much more from this tip until I can even that mass out. And this should help right here. Now that flake split, I was hoping it would stay together because I felt like I could make a point out of it, but that's okay. See, those are just blending flakes. I'm not trying to, I've got it fairly cleared there now, so. Chicken, good morning. Yeah, this is Texas. Good guess there, Justin. This is just raw Edwards Plateau chicken. And good day to you. Justin, good to see you in here. Yeah, I was just warming up, hitting some rock. I haven't really hit any rock in, well, a week and a half probably. So I'm probably going to be a little rusty this morning, but or I don't know, sometimes every once in a while, if I take a little while off, kind of let my joints and everything get uninflamed and heal up a little bit, I have good days. But it's just hard for me to lay off of flint knapping. Yeah, I know you've been busy too, man. And it's, you know, it's just like anything else. I mean, yeah, you still remember how to do it and everything, but when it's fresh in your muscle memory, you know, it just feels real smooth and natural. And I guess that's, you know, maybe sometimes, like I said, if I sit and don't do as much for a while, it lets those muscles kind of heal up, you know, all the joints and stuff. But I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it. Just some days I have good days, some days I don't. Well, have you about got your dad's place finished there, Justin? How's that coming along? Oh, chicken. Hey, Blake, there you go. Hadn't seen you in forever. I was working a piece of Edwards this morning a little bit, just bifacing it. I hadn't hit on a rock in a while. Right on. Yeah, I mean, I know that's a lot of work, man. You got a lot of time and stuff in there. Hey, Bill, good morning. And it's good to see you guys today. Making my morning. I appreciate it. Right on. Well, I know you've been busy. You said you were getting after it, so yep, time to get some chipping. All right, now I'm just going to turn this edge back this way. I'm probably just going to biface this out. I've got a piece of, I've got kind of well, darn it, I don't like what I just did there. But I kind of was inspired. I've got wow, that's a lot of work, Justin. But now I've been going through some of my rock. I've been trying to clean up out in my area. It's still a mess, but going through and finding a bunch of material and coming across stuff that I'd set aside and all that, but I had moved my water buckets here, Terry Roseberry, and I'm gonna wait and see if he shows up in here. But I've got this piece of black Horse Creek, and I mean, there's a couple of flakes off of it. It's just black. I'm gonna work this as kind of a warm up to get me used to it again, but then I've got a killer piece still sitting in the water over here. And I'd like to make a Clovis, a big Clovis out of it. It's got some cracks. There's a crack off this tip, and it seams that go down in here, so I don't know what I'll end up with it, but it seems pretty solid. But I'd love to make a big red with colors Clovis out of it. I don't know, I was just inspired to try it. So that's, if I'm having a decent day today. Oh, chicken, I'm telling you, and that's why I set it back, you know. I was hoping that today I might be a little bit more crisp, you know, because I haven't been napping as much. And if I can get in a groove, oh no, Justin, that sucks. There's gonna be some future archaeologists going, I don't know what happened. There's actually Buffalo River in this creek. But that is, oh man, I didn't even think about that. Oh man. Well, I know you'd said you were soaking it, but I didn't even think about it, you know, creek coming up and washing your material away. Got it tied up, huh? Man, that is, oh. Well, I'm sorry for that. That just, I mean, that material's hard to come by. That just, no fun. All right. I've got most of this, you know, a little bit of thinness up here I need to get rid of, but I don't want to make the point too thin up here before I remove some more of this mass. So what I'm going to do is kind of set up I've got a couple there. I don't know if these first flakes going across here are going to clear it. I don't think so, because I'm actually right at or just a little bit above center line on my platform. But I'm going to roll them into and create some convexity. And then when I come back to it, it'll be able to have more reason to get more. Well, I tell you what, that's, you know, I don't want to say I'm not stingy with my material, you know, but I kind of covet my material. I'm pretty, you know, that's what I say. That's why every time I go through my rock, I end up coming across something that I've set aside that I wasn't going to let myself work until, you know, I'm having a good day. So, but like I said, I'm feeling pretty good this morning. This is a really, I mean, this got a little bit of concrete in it, but this is a nice clean piece of Edwards Plateau. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Put this one on there. All right. The antler's a little soggy this morning. So now I removed those flakes, then I'm using those as platforms coming back the other way, just trying to set up the contours that I want. Like this big flake right here, or this big ridge right here, once I get it set up, I'm going to try to take a flake that'll go from edge to edge, but I don't want to take that before I get these areas thinned down enough, because what'll end up happening is you end up with a bowl or a scooped out valley in the center of your point. and that just increases the chance that you're going to break it while you're working on it. So I will avoid taking that material until I get these ends to a spot that I'm not going to have to work them that much. So yeah, it's the humidity will definitely mess with them. In my area out here, it gets pretty humid, and I mean, with our old house, this is actually kind of a closed-in, screened-in porch that it used to be open, and now it's more of a den, really. But there's a roof leak not too far off the side of me over here that I have to put a bucket down every time it rains. And this old house, that's the reason we're building a new one. We've got some roof issues, we've got other stuff going on, so we are in the process of getting all that done. That's why I've kind of changed my live schedule from being live every morning on through the week to one morning, one lunch, and one evening. So once we get the house going and everything kind of, I got garden stuff going on. Once that stuff kind of settles down, then I'll settle back into a rhythm where I'm on live a little bit more. A sip of coffee. All right. Now you can see as I'm removing that, I've got this basically a distinct ridge. It runs across here, but see how this side, that the platform is actually above the center line. And if I tried to take a flake this way, it's just going to roll into that. But if I'm wanting to take a major removal off of that, I need to lower that edge more to this face, or raise it to that face, I guess I should say. Depends on which direction you're holding it, but right now I'm raising this edge by taking this material off. I do, Damien, my schedule, and I haven't really put out a video or anything on it, or a post, but I'm going to do Monday mornings from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Wednesday evenings from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Fridays from 11 to 1, midday. And then maybe throw an extra one in if I get a shot, a chance at it on a weekend, like a Saturday or Sunday. I enjoy going live every day, but it's for me, it's kind of, it's taxing. I know it sounds silly, but after my injury, I've only got a limited amount of time during the day that I can really get around and do much until once the inflammation kicks in, and I'm just pretty much junk. So napping for 2 hours every day was taking up the better part of what I could get done, and I've got a bunch of stuff to get done. So once I get that going, I'll be back on, more through the week. So, because like I said, I really enjoy it. It's something that, to be able to share something I love this much with people that are interested in it is great. I love it. So thank you guys for continuing to follow and support and subscribe and all that stuff. It's really humbling to me. Now see, as I'm adjusting this, I'm still trying to take that width down. Thank you, Damien. I appreciate that. Well, like I said, I enjoy it, and I appreciate you guys, not just stopping in to watch. I appreciate that, but people that are subscribed to the channel and supporting it actually monetarily, it's just, it really is humbling, guys. I appreciate your interest in my art and what I love to do. So speaking of subscribers, let me show you guys. I don't know if anybody that's in here is, this is a Folsom that we fluted on live. I think there's a video of this on YouTube, or will be soon. Hey, Don, good morning. But this is going to be the subscriber giveaway point at the end of April. Around the 1st of May, I'll draw. So any active subscriber during the month of April will be eligible for that. Kill Creek, how you doing this morning? And you don't have to be present to win, so you don't need to worry about whether you can catch me when I'll draw. If I draw your name, I'll send you a message and get your shipping information and get it sent on its way to you at my cost. So just as a, hey, you got a turkey? Awesome. Now you got some fletching. That's I've got a box of it. I don't know if I've got it. Yeah, I've got it out here. I was gifted some wing feathers. A friend of mine, his son turkey hunts, and a few years ago he saved the wing feathers. Of course, he wanted the fan, and I said, man, I'd rather have the wings anyway for what I do, you know. So I've got two wings of turkeys, or the wings of two turkeys. So four wings for fletching material. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was talking to the guy that was doing our dirt work here. Well, the guy that works for the guy, but he lives out here near where I live, and I've been hearing them. I haven't hunted them down here yet, but we've got a lot of them moving in here on our property. So I'm looking forward to an upcoming turkey hunt myself. Come on. Come on. Hope this, I'm trying to get this to let loose. It'll be a big flake, but there it is. See? This will be a big flake, but there it is. See? I knew that would clear that whole ridge across there. That's what we were setting up for. I don't know if I got enough. Oh, there's the platform. But you can see how it was lined up down that ridge, and how much of that material in it, with a good hard platform or stout platform, it shot it all the way over to here. That's awesome, Don. Oh, Rhea, thank you for the subscription. Oh my gosh, guys, thank you. Colby, good morning. Yeah, I'm just working a piece of Texas stuff here. This is raw Edwards Plateau shirt. Needed to hit on some rock. I hadn't hit anything in a while. Most of it is what little I had done was pressure flaking, and kind of felt like my joints had let me do it this morning. So that's what I'm gonna biface this, and I've got another guy that, if he was coming in here, I haven't seen him yet. Terry, if you've snuck in and I haven't seen you, let me know. But I'm gonna work a piece of, I feel pretty good today, and I think I've got a nice piece of Horse Creek that I want to make a Clovis out of, or start making a Clovis out of. I don't know if I finish it today, but we get pretty close anyway. So I was just warming up and working some, you know, nice consistent material, but tougher material, to kind of prepare me for the Horse Creek. Beautiful material, but it is tough. And I've got it still soaking over here, but then I pulled one piece. Look at this black, where that flake's taken out, how black that is. And I don't know, you know, sometimes it looks like there's a little yellow in this end, but you don't ever know until you bust into it. So I figured I'd work a little bit of the Horse Creek this week. I hadn't worked any in a month or so. But I've been going through all my rock trying to see what I had, and I'm toying with the idea of making it to a few events, possibly later in the year. Now that, you know, with my dog passing, she She had bad separation anxiety, and I guess I did too, to a certain extent. And so it's going to be a little bit easier to travel and go to events without worrying about her being upset that I'm not here. Oh, awesome, Justin. Yeah, I really like working the Horse Creek. I like the colors of it, and I mean, for a Northwest Arkansas boy, I get a lot of colorful stuff, but there's just something about the texture and all that of that Horse Creek that I really like. Nice contouring thinning flake right there. Might make a little point. It's a little thin, but trying to set up to where I've got a little spot here. You can see where that kind of a flake stops short, and I've got a pretty predominant ridge that goes towards it from the other side, but it would be a long flake. So you want to make sure that you really isolate spots like that. I mean, I could take the flake without doing the isolation, but when you make that ridge stand out more, it makes it easier to get the flake to travel farther. I'm doing okay. I mean, they're a little soft, Colby. I've gotten to where I can, I know I can work with them, but it'll chew them up quicker. They're just a little softer. Have to hit a little crisper, a little harder sometimes. There's a few different little things but all in all, I mean, it's a little different, but they're a little soggier. It's just kind of almost slower. So you can see that white on the tip of that, where I'm kind of trying to drag that at an angle. That's antler that's coming off on the platform. It's just soft. Trying to turn that back so I can get a little bit better angle on this. There we go. Yeah, I usually, if we got rain forecast, I typically will make sure my stuff is in the house, or at least some kind of when I'm napping out on the screen porch, there's times when I'll put my stuff in the yeah, it does look like a braiding dust on there, but I'll put mine. I'll tell you a tip that might help you is any of your antler stuff, get you like one of those totes that you can, plastic, Rubbermaid totes, and either go to the, like Walmart's got, like gun safe, those what I can't even think how the word's pronounced, but it's those little moisture, it draws moisture, and you can put one of those in there and then put your antler in there, and it'll help draw that moisture and keep them from getting soggy on you. And then, yeah, damp red or whatever. Hey, Nomad, good morning. And then, and that'll help. Once they get soggy, it'll help pull the moisture out of there. But the best way that I found, if they do get wet or soggy like that, is to just lay them out on your dash in your car. And park it out in the hot sun and crack your windows. Let some air, let it vent off, and it'll dry them out that way. All right, I'm gonna try to get this. I've got where this flake stops short right here, kind of where this flake stops short right here, kind of a boogered up spot, and I've got this platform set up all the way across here off that. You can see the top of that ridge right there, and I'm going to try to drive one from right here to this, so I'm supporting where I want that flake to travel. I'm putting pressure with my hand. I'm going to dull that a little bit, but because I'm really setting that back in that hand, it's up against the bone for support. And when I'm hitting this, it's almost like when I'm fluting a piece, I'm feeling for, like when I tap down on this, if my angle's too much up, I can feel it pushing down on my fingers. But as I turn that, I can feel it starting to drive that hand back. And that's when that force is in line with, see, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can't really see that. But once I get that feel, and then I drove it right to the, well, it didn't either. It kind of shot off to the side. I thought it went right to the, it started to climb that hill and then just quit on me. I might be able to make a point out of that one. Let's take this one at that angle. But I'm feeling for that energy to travel through that rock at an angle where I can, I know it's hard to describe, and that's one of the hardest things that once you feel it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but until you do, it doesn't make any sense. I think I got another avenue in for that over here. We're still early enough that I think I can get it and still have plenty of room to do whatever else I need to here. Yeah. See, that ran right down along the edge of it. There's that little spot. And now we've got a way to get into it from either direction, so to clean up what's left of it. I'm just about to switch to the smaller antler tip here so I can get into a little bit tighter platform. Yeah, that was a good one to contouring flake there. Yeah, that was a good one to contouring flake there. Oh, awesome. Awesome, Justin. Yeah, I'm getting ready to make up some new. I've got mine set out in here, and I've been marking where I want, what tools I want out of the ones that I got, and gonna make some new punches and probably a few, I don't know, most of them they're smaller. I requested smaller ones so that I could use them for punches more so than billets. Yeah, it's that moose will make really good billet material, and punch material for even for vertical punching too. Any of those little straight sections and all that, those will work good for vertical punches. All right, now we're definitely getting down to a thin biface on this. I've got a little bit of material right here that I need to remove. I'm going to switch to a little bit smaller. I'm going to look at that. Yeah, it was really biting in or chewing into that. You can see how roughed up that is, and that wasn't that rough when I started. So let me dress this one up just to get it. Yep, I do too, Colby. Just like that. And that's for vertical punch that I use. Similar to like this one, this is Stumpy. That is probably my favorite peg punch. You can see the wear pattern around the edges of it but I'd use that one. I used to do a lot of vertical punching. I really haven't done much here in a while. I may do a video on that this week. Any of you guys, have you ever done any vertical punching as opposed to the horizontal punch like this? Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do some of that this week too, because I really haven't done it a lot in a long time. So wouldn't hurt for me to get back into it a little bit. It's just like any other technique. If you don't spend much time with it, you get rusty. So that's actually what I used to do before I discovered or figured out a way that I could use the horizontal punch better. Yeah, there's definitely some moisture in these antlers this morning. Yeah, I like vertical punches for early stage especially, but the problem with them for me is once you lose mass in your biface, it gets harder to hold them in place. If you're holding it and trying to drive your flakes, the biface will move and jump around, and that's why the horizontal punch I like so much, is because of the control. I can hold that piece steady to where it doesn't move, and I can direct those flakes. But the problem with the vertical punches is that it's jumping around on you. It's a kind of an ugly spot right there. But it'll jump around on you, and it's hard to isolate it. And Marty Reuter has got a couple of videos where he used like a moose palm that he had hollowed out to help with the holding of them. And that's before he really started showing a lot of stuff with the horizontal punch after that, because I think he was experiencing the same thing. It's hard to isolate that biface to keep it from moving. Hey Todd, good morning. Hadn't seen you in a while. Yeah, I'm feeling the moisture in the antler today though, for sure. Whew. It is making it a little bit more difficult. Let me do a little hammerstone work on this. That's one thing that I will occasionally do if I'm having some difficulty with the antler, is I'll start doing a lot more hammerstone work, and you just have to change to You know, if you've got a platform that you typically would call an antler platform, you can use a softer, let's see if I've got a, that one's a little bit softer than, but harder than the sandstone, but softer than the other rock. But if it's a platform that you would typically use an antler on, get a softer hammerstone and strike it more like you would, you know, with an antler tool. It's more of a slap. I like the texture of that one though. Not for this rock. And sometimes you just have to find a texture that's working well, or a size of the mass of the piece that's working well. There it is. See, I could tell as soon as that pulled that first flake off, the way you can see how that's grabbing it differently, but it's not like a hammerstone flake. It's more like I'm hitting it with a piece of antler, and that's just a harder piece of sandstone that I've used and, you know, broken down and just keep saving it because the texture is just perfect for this and for grinding edges, but that's because it's gripping that edge better. See, here's a great example. This is that's typically what I would call an antler type. See, here's a great example. This is that's typically what I would call an antler type of a platform. It's fairly sharp. It's kind of scooped. And what I'll do is, instead of striking down on that platform, is almost, it's like a slap, a little flake there. There's another one where it tailed out here, and it'll feather out just like you were. See how those, they're like antler flakes. I mean, it's just a different setup. So that's occasionally what I do when the humidity has got my antler all mad at me. I'm going to do another video too. I was telling somebody the other day, I don't have one on video, but I've done a couple of Clovis points with just one tool, and I'll try to pick out a rock that the texture is pretty good and a piece of material, and just use one tool from beginning to end, fluting and shaping and everything. Let me see if I can do that. That one's usually that's a good challenge to kind of resets me on my hammerstone work, because that is the tool that I would choose. And if I only had one tool, it would be a hammerstone. Skitty, good morning. Sorry, I was trying to get this edge to turn with this. There it goes. So you can see that that's a little bit more typically of what I would call a hammerstone type platform. And just take these nice little feathering flakes off there, I'm just building convexity and cleaning up my edge. It's another one. Jonathan, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Guys, sorry if I was just kind of trying to get in the zone. I haven't napped a lot here recently and trying to get everything going again. Plus, I'm having some of the same issues that, I was watching Colby earlier, and oh, thank you for the gift. The Stone Survivor there, he was live this morning and quite a bit farther south than I am, but still dealing with the humidity on natural tools is a challenge. So occasionally you just have to change your tactics. Maybe your setup a little bit. Come on. There it went. Guys, thank you for the gifts and everything. I appreciate it. I apologize for being a little bit unavailable here for the last little while, but we're coming out of the worst of it, I think. I mean, there's still going to be times, I'm sure, but I'm doing much better. So I appreciate all the support and all the fellowship and camaraderie and all that. I really do. Let's see here. I haven't done much of these. I don't even know if these are, how soggy these are. I haven't done much antler percussion here in a while, but direct percussion, I should say. There we go. This is one of my favorite little go-to antlers. I've had this thing for forever, and it is so bone-like. This one usually doesn't get as affected as bad as some of the others because of the moisture. Back to the hammerstone here. Got this little bit of Cortex stuff here to get off the end. Trying to save a little bit of that if I can for the length. There we go. Take a couple of flakes with the punch. Now I think I can get some longer clearing flakes. Pretty well took care of that little spot down there. All right. Well, it's just got to be just right setup though, because that humidity, it is softer. I overstruck that one. I should have set that platform a little bit better. It's all right. It's just went in there just a little bit, but should be able to get it out of there. I'm gonna come in at this angle here and try to get that out of there. If not, we still got plenty of material. That was just a dumb flake on my part, or a dumb attempt. It wasn't set up right. It's one of those I knew as I was getting ready to hit it that it wasn't set up the way it should have been, but was just hoping for the best. And that's the kind of stuff I try to avoid when I'm napping. I'll get into that, especially if I haven't napped for a while and I'm really not engaged, I guess is the best way to put it, you know. It's just like anything else you're trying to do good, if, you know, or at your best ability. If you're not really completely into it, then it shows. So that was just one of those moments where I kind of was. I just been a little lax. I fixed it right there, but lost some of it. I've got some more right here. Just one of those moments, you know. Let's try to set this up to clear this side better, thin it. Try to make a little Clovis out of this one. I don't know if I'll try to finish it today, or if I'd like to work on that Horse Creek a little bit. I got a big old beautiful piece of Horse Creek over here. I was hoping that Terry Roseberry would come in, if he's one that sent me the material, and I usually like to try to work, you know, stuff like that. Try to save it where the folks that sent it to me can watch me work it. This I actually got from one of the guys in here now, Blake. Got this material from him. And absolutely, I've made some just beautiful stuff. I like working. It's tough, but it's consistent for the most part. Now I'm getting ready to come back to this other side that just, you know, that I just put those little steps in, and I'm just dropping this edge. We can see all that antler on that platform. It really is leaving a lot. But I'm trying to get a steep enough angle without putting a bunch of steps or anything like that in it, and get a little bit closer to these issues over here. Hey, Chris, good morning. You know, with the Clovis point, there's, you know, they're not a super wide point. They're very much lanceolate, you know. So if that's what you're making into it, you know, you got a little bit of room to spare width-wise, and I try to use that to set the contours the way that, you know, I've established this is going to be my base, this is my tip, and now I'm trying to leave a little bit of thickness or a little bit of body back here where I'm going to initiate the flutes at, but still keep it in flow with the rest of this piece. Now you can see those little steps and stuff that I kind of boogered up a while ago. Well, now we've set up a platform that's towards that side, but I'm not going to try to shoot them way, you know, like straight in. I actually want to try to do shorter ones to try to have them curl over that and start building that convexity, but still take those issues out. Bam, bam, ugga, ugga, grunt, grunt. Or ugga, 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 grunt, grunt. Sounds like me trying to get out of bed this morning, Chris. That's the other thing, is this humid weather does wonders for my joints and all my. Hey now. Let's shift forward a little bit. You know. Oh wait. Caveman for watch this, huh? All right, now we're going to try to keep these fairly low and try to curl them into the body of this piece. Man. Yeah, the antler is definitely soft this morning. The humidity has got it. So, let's do this with a hammerstone. It's one of those you just kind of have to shift around. Now all this is it's just a grabbier piece of sandstone. Find a good spot on here that, because it's kind of flat right here, so if I tried to drive in too far, I'm just going to make this problem that I'm trying to get out worse. So I'm just going to go down at a pretty steep angle and just try to curl into that and create a way to get around it. I got a little bit of it. That one sounded better. Got a little more. Heal the world. I am making a stone tool with Stone Age tools. Now we're going to try to see if we can get this. My antler is a little bit, the humidity will cause it to be a little softer. You know, it absorbs some of that humidity. So we're going to try to shoot some of these underneath this problem. Okay, that one went well. That one got almost all of it. I've still got this little area right here. Just pick the rest, but all I got to do is just try to take this and blend it in. There it is. Well, where's everybody watching from this morning? I know some of the regulars that are in here, but where are you from and what are you up to? If you got any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ask them. All right, we're going to take this series down this space here, you can see how it's kind of angled that way, and this is the side that we've got the most mass right here. So we'll start at the base. Man, come on. There we go. There we go. Got those to shoot off there, and all of them went almost halfway, or right at halfway. And just turn this other edge. Yeah, I've lost my monitor here. We're back to that again, it looks like. I've got a new in my Amazon cart. Okay, there we are, we're back. So if it's starting that again, guys, I may have to, because I cannot follow any of the comments if my monitor goes down again. I've got a cord on the way, but, or, well, it's in my cart. That's the only thing about this, Colby, the setup, and I'll show it to you here in just a little bit, if everything holds up anyway. But it's just a little, like an Amazon, it's just like a portable extra monitor for like laptops. And I run a mini HDMI cable from the output of my phone to the input of the monitor, and it puts a, I don't know, it's probably maybe a 10-inch tall version of what it's on my phone right here just off screen, about eye level for me, so I can look up and still follow comments and stuff. And it's very helpful because I've tried to put it, you know, first and it's very helpful because I've tried to put it, you know, first person view with my phone, and I didn't really care for that because it was in my way when I was napping. I couldn't find a spot that was out of my way enough to be able to feel like it was, you know, the view was not kind of a pain. So this view helps a little bit as far as being able to show you guys the angles and stuff, and still you can see pretty much everything I do. But when it's right in front of me, if my hands are anywhere, you know, outside that, it's, I don't know, it's just a pain. So there's all kinds of little learning curves whenever you start doing stuff new or different, for sure. And this has been one for me. I'm a little bit of a caveman naturally. I don't do well with technology typically, and so that's been a fun little struggle at times too. But the irony is never lost on me that I'm demonstrating some of the oldest technologies in the world, or, you know, that at its basis anyway, but I'm utilizing one of the most advanced pieces of technology we have. to broadcast it out. So all right, now you can see we've got a nice, our angles on our edges are nice. We've got pretty pronounced ridges on both sides. You can see that ridge going down through here. And now I'll reform, or try to clean that up a little bit, and then we'll start thinking about which side we're going to flute first. I've got this, instead of a puzzle, I've got a question here that says, which of these things can quack? So now I gotta, hold on. Sorry guys. Get around here where I can see on my film, or my camera. All right. I didn't see all of the things I was supposed to on the first one there. Yeah, I like the puzzle pieces better than that. Now they've got pictures of stuff and they've got it in a big jumbled up deal and says, ask you questions about it. So yeah, that's me. I can take whatever I got on me and walk off into the woods and come out of there with a knife and stuff to cut, and I can make fire and I can do all that, but I can't figure out a darn thing to make sure that I'm not some kind of a bot. So yeah, it's pretty ironic, really. All right, let's see if we can get this cleaned up a little bit pressure flake wise. Do a little more hammerstone work, I think. Try to save those antlers today. It's just not working as well. I mean, it's working, but instead of trying to do most of the work with it, I'll try to do hammerstone and then clean up with the antler pressure. So right now we're just trying to clean the edges to get it ready for which face we're going to flute first. So Stardust Shimmers I am. This is going to be a Clovis point, but yeah, it's a stone tool. Be like a spear point or a knife with a flute on either side if I can. Got a little bit thin right there, but I think it'll still work. We're going to flute this side first, I believe. So I've got, let me do a pressure flake series. Damien, any time, actually, I mean, even, I've got one here that I think was elk, but it's worn back and you can kind of see the center there. and it'll work until it gets into that, and then you have to work off the corners. But any kind of antler will work. I like brow tines for pressure flaking because they're solid farther down in the tine than the tips are. I've got this. This is a killer G1 brow, or not a brow tine, but a G1, and this one actually has got it's pretty solid bone near the base on it also. But any antler will work. The main thing is that you just want to make sure you've got enough, however you're attaching it, to your shaft, or if you're using it as a, whatever way, that there's enough material here where you can either drill it to put your shaft in there, or however, that. But any antler, I mean, you could actually strap this to a stick and something that's going to hold it in place, and you can use something like this. I messed around with an idea of putting some, in fact, they're on here somewhere. I had put some slits in my leather. That's some others, but I was going to try to figure out a way to put this through a couple of slits in the leather and just have it set on my leg, and then be able to hit it. I may revisit that though, now that I'm thinking about something. Not today, but for finer work, I think it will work. But yeah, anything that you can you can drill out to put a shaft into, or however you want to do your indirect. But I like that. And then what I do is, as they wear down, that's the ones I like to use for, I'll either slice them up or grind them down and make my notching punches out of. But then this is buffalo bone. I also use that sometimes for punches. So there's another one. But yeah, use that antler any way you can, any way you can get it. And then if you need to come up with a new way to attach it to the shaft or whatever, then that's what the innovation's all about. So, hey, you bet, Colby. Thank you for showing up today, and I look forward to your live in the morning. I'm not going to go live tomorrow. Hopefully everything will kind of dry out around here, and I can get out on the tractor a little bit, but that will remain to be seen. But, well, I mean, you can just see that it's just pushing off pieces of that antler. It's soft. But it's still pushing flakes. There's the tail end of that one. Pressure flake that went, almost across the whole thing. Oh yeah, Damien, that's me too. I'd like to get out this week and go look. We found enough for a small mess last week, and I had given mine last year. My mom is getting older and really loves them and doesn't get out, and so I had given her one mess, and then my son came and hunted some with me, and I let him have some with the intent to go back out and get some more. And then the weather turned real dry for us here, and the season was just over. So I found a few the other day, and that was the first I'd had in 2 years. So I was pretty happy. to say the least. I love morel mushrooms. Grew up finding them with my grandpa. Southwest Missouri is where we lived when I was a kid. All right, now by beveling both those edges, you can see how that edge, see, I still got a little bit of a messed up spot right there, but how this edge is oriented to this face, same as this one. And what we're gonna do is try to build some convexity so that when I flute that, it'll travel farther up that. Absolutely, Damien. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. This rain will help. I mean, we're getting close. I mean, for my area, we needed that rain bad because it was still pretty dry, and there weren't a lot out. Not in the spots that I go to usually, and I find enough of them that if I'm not finding them, then somebody's getting lucky and finding them somewhere. But I've got several spots. I mean, we have usually all we want. Which is quite a few for me. I mean, like I said, that's one of my morel mushrooms and fresh crappie in the spring are probably one of the finest meals that I know of. I can remember my grandpa making it every year, you know, in the spring of the year, and it's just one of those things that's tied to that memory or that emotion, you know. So, had a couple of flakes there I needed to. Another one over here. Because as I'm trying to build convexity on this piece, I'm trying to think about really both sides of it at the same time. And any of these little, like that little flake that, if I can get it to release off there, it will adjust the other side. There we go. For when I come back the next time. And help me when I'm trying to set up this space. Still a little bit there I need to get. There we go. And here comes the train through this morning. There we go, that's much better. Aqua Star Girl, thank you for the follow. Right on, Justin. I have tried rattlesnake before, not my favorite, but right on, Justin. I have tried rattlesnake before, not my favorite, but I have tried it. I prefer my delicacies to not bite back. That's, you know, probably. No, not to say, because here in Arkansas, yes, it was fried, Justin. Oh, well, thank you, Aqua Star Girl. Well, that's what I concentrate on in here. This is all, everything I do is Stone Age tools. We make, I hafted this and made the handle live with Stone Age tools. Cut the deal in. This is real sinew, and it's hafted in there with pine pitch glue. Just everything, you know, like I said, it's all Stone Age. So if you like this kind of stuff, way better grilled, huh? I'll have to revisit it then, Justin, because like I said, I've heard people, you know, talk about how much they liked it, and it was, you know, it was okay. It wasn't horrible, but it was like, yeah, cool. I've eaten rattlesnakes, so I'm good. I will have to try it grilled. Give me a sip of coffee here. Now these flakes I'm going to take are going to be very downward and not much in. I'm trying to basically make a rounded ridge right down the center of this piece. And taking these flakes, sharp downward flakes like this, you can see how I'm pulling those down, and from the end, the profile, you see how that's kind of isolating this area right here from those flakes. Now, as I get out towards the tip a little bit, I'll push in a little bit more because I want to kind of thin that out ahead of that. In fact, I'm gonna thin the tip of it here just a little, because it is pretty thick and I don't want to have to do that after it's fluted and thin. There we go. See actually there's a little more than I wanted to take, but we'll deal with it. All right, now we can finish. Took a little more on this. It's going to be a little thinner on that side, but that's okay. All right, well, just if you like, you know, the fluting, or you want to see something, I've got several videos on my profile, but then I've also got some videos on YouTube showing, you know, how I flute and all that. So if it's something you're interested in, feel free to check that out. And if you've got questions, ask. You know, that's why I do this. You know, that a lot of folks that make these, but you don't get to see them do whatever their super secret sauce is, you know, because it's, you know, whatever. And I'm not like that. If you want to learn about it, you ask me, and if I know it, I'll answer it. So, you know, I wish that there was a resource like this available when I first started, because this would have saved me a lot of headaches. When I started doing this, I napped for 2 years before I knew anybody else did it. So, there it is. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I switched over to these tools about eight or 9 years ago, I guess, and I have not gone back to using the modern ones. That's what I used before these, was a mixture of, but I saw a Marty Reuter video, flint knapping tips, all one word on YouTube, and watched him using traditional tools, and I was just like, yep, that's how I'm going to nap. And started practicing as much as I could and getting frustrated and all that stuff. But like I said, fortunate that there was videos out there when I switched tools, because the difference was incredible. Yeah, that's cool, Justin. I don't, that's one thing that I try to stress in here to everybody. I don't care what tools you use. I don't care if you cut them out with a CNC. If that's what you like doing, man, do it the way you like doing it. And don't let anybody else tell you different. You won't hear it in here. Not from me, anyway. I like every aspect of this art. I see some people that, they work slabs, and I see the fog fog napping, and to me, it's all art. I go more towards what would be a traditional, look and everything with my stuff. So I don't abrade a lot, real people. In fact, a lot of what I'm doing right here, this is how I'm adjusting that edge, is just brushing those edges. Now I will go back and even it up, but see, after I'm going to clean this side up too, you can see kind of how jagged that, like serrations, but you see how that's now kind of got a ridge that's isolated down the center of that piece? That's what's going to help push that flute. Now I'm going to abrade on the platform, but not making it duller. I'm just trying to get it where I can get a grip on there. You can see the angle on that? I'm not grinding it perpendicular. I'm putting dust on the top of that little platform so that my antler tool tip will be able to grab it a little easier. And see, and it pulled a nice little flake off there, just what I needed. And the reason I don't abrade a lot, oh, thank you, real people, I appreciate it. The reason that I don't abrade a lot with the antler is that, or when I'm working down those edges like that, anytime I'm putting the flaker directly on the edge, I will abrade it and put some dust. You can see that white dust on there to dull that edge up a little bit, or I just brush it with the tip of my tool until it gets, I can feel how much resistance kind of it's got to take the flake. But when I'm directly on that platform with the tool, not above it, then I will abrade it just to get a better bite on it. And I'm just doing one more series down this because I'm trying to isolate. There's a little bit of a lump of material. You can see it in the cross section right here. Now I'm fluting it from this direction, so I've got some mass, but I need to keep that away from that edge, or that energy will flow out of the edge of it and break the piece in half. I'm just trying to make sure that there's nowhere for that energy to go. All right, that was a good flake. All right, I'm gonna try to take a indirect flake here and try to take the top of that off so that flake doesn't have as far to. No. Well, I got it a little bit more higher angle and isolated, so that will work. I can definitely feel how out of sync I am, though. I'll get back to it. I'm just starting to come out of a you know, the fog of got a grip that's hard to do with a piece of tine. Oh, with just these little antler tines, is that? Oh yeah, the indirect is definitely a game changer as far as energy transfer and all that to the stuff. I mean, it enables me to be able to nap more because it's easier on my body. But yeah, real people, I used to use, in fact, I've still got a couple of, like, you know, that look a little bit more like modern flakers. These are actually, this one, I had another one that was a little bit shorter that had a bone piece in it. These were copied after the Iceman Otzi or whatever. And I tried, when I first started, I was using these a lot. And I just got to where I use antler tines like this. As they wear down, and I turn them into punches or, you know, whatever. I just discard them. I've been thinking about making a necklace of all my old worn out pressure flakers, you know, almost like a bear tooth necklace. I thought it would be kind of a neat way to tribute all the worn out tools that I've made. So that's what I think a lot of, you know, you hear people talk about, like game balls. I hear, you know, a lot, oh, it was a gaming piece. It's a game ball. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of what they're calling that are hammerstones that are in the last part of their life. Where's that one? This used to be a square rock, and you can see how I've hit the edges and how it's rounded down and it's turning more like a ball. You know, these are still not what I would call, you know, rounded perfect for, you know, quote unquote game ball, but they will wear down in that circular form. That's just how they, just natural turning. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Justin. It would be kind of cool to have, you know, just those worn out tools and stuff, almost like a, you know, I don't want to say a, you know, it's like a, hey, I've been doing this long enough that I've worn out this many tools. You know what I mean? And I wish that I had thought of that idea. I've got a few that I've saved back, but I wish I would have thought of it a few years ago, because I have, yeah, they're trophies. You know, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in every one of these little tools, you know. I got the scars on my knuckles and all that to prove it. All right, so now what we've done here, see how that edge is lowered towards this side? Oh, right on, let's see. Oh my God, yeah, I missed one there. Sorry your stuff's lagging there. I'll get, well, on a necklace, that'd be cool. David, good morning. Gosh, guys, I missed a lot of stuff through there. I'm sorry. There was something about Eyelash and Roy Motley. Now, I know Roy, and I was reading it and then tried to see who it was. Oh, Wabi Flurfatron. Hey, thanks for the follow. I see. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's right, Damien. We've talked before, and both of us, because I know, and Justin, thank you for pinning that. Yeah, I know Roy pretty well. I've met him at a few nap-ins. Well, at Bodark was the first year I met him. Jim Redfern was the one that introduced us. He was one of Jim's mentors when Jim started flint napping. So was really cool. He's very well known in the community for sure. Super knowledgeable. I picked his brain a lot when I was working on, especially on the Folsoms, but on the, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to get out of, was having to lean on that to really get that flake to pop out of there. But yeah, I talked to Roy a lot about fluting setups and contours and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's, guys, I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of, you know, that's missing for a lot of people that are getting into this craft now is, you know, I've said it before, and I don't, nothing against anybody or how you nap or what you use or anything, but flint napping in the last 5 years after COVID, you know, it really did blow up. A lot of people got into flint napping, which is good. But what you end up seeing, I mean, the fogged points and the slab points where you get those perfect ribbon patterns and stuff, they catch people's eye because it's pretty. The faceted, you know, it's gorgeous. But what's happened is now there's been such an influx of those type of points that it's kind of altered the way you see what a pretty point is. There's no teachers out here where... Now, where was it that you said you were at, Justin? But no, it's kind of altered the way that we look at a point as to what's a pretty point, you know? And it's much the same as like, you know, years ago, or they're talking about how like 17 magazine was altering the way girls, you know, perception of the way that they look. Southeast New Mexico. Yeah, you got that. You ought to check it out. I think there's a group or two about Southwest, you know, flint napping clubs, Justin. You might check it out because there's a lot of folks down in that area that nap. But no, if, you know, I would venture to say that most of you that are watching, you know, you've got a few arrowheads that you've found over the years or know somebody that does. And I would guess that most of the stuff that you see modern made is probably prettier or more aesthetically pleasing than, yeah, Damien, and that's what I'm saying, you know, but what's ended up happening is we've got such an influx of new people into it that, you know, we're drawn for the eye candy, and most of the points that you pick up, they're not pretty. You know, most of them. Now, I've got some nice ones in my collection. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, you know, they were being made for use more so than they were to be pretty. Now, if they ended up being useful and pretty, much the better. But for the most part, they were made to perform a job, and they weren't, you know, so that you could look at them and go, ooh, that's a pretty point. Now, that's my opinion or my take on it. When we find these absolutely gorgeous, what people refer to as G10s, I think that, I mean, any of you guys out here, hey, Don, thank you for upping your subscription again, man. I appreciate it. But no, I think that, you know, they're just like we are. I guarantee you, any of you guys that are nappers, when you make a nice point, you set that point aside because you want to show your friends and you want to show people that are interested in it. Well, if something happened to you while that's set back, when that gets found, it's brand new. It's perfect. It's, you know, it's your best work. I think that's why we find those kind of knives in unused, or those kind of blades in unused form, is because that was some of their best work and they wanted to show it off. They didn't want to use it up and sharpen it and watch it go away. They wanted to show it off. That's my opinion, you know, and that and what, $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's nowadays. So take it for what you will, but that's just kind of my take on it. Not to say that, you know, every beautiful piece was for, you know, set aside for whatever, but I think that a certain percentage of them were. Because, you know, anybody that does something like this, is, even if you know, do something as far as part of your livelihood, if you do a good job on it, you take some pictures. Oh, that's awesome, Damien. Yeah, whenever you get to hold, you know, points that are basically the quintessential for that. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's really nice to be able to look at points that are basically the namesake type points, you know, like the. But if you look at, you know, a lot of the modern made calf creeks and Andice points, and then look at the one that Dixon they used for the typology of that from here in Arkansas. It was made out of it's the black oil smelling chert that we have. What is it called? Don't know why that just left me, but it did. But that's what that point was made out of, and it wasn't really pretty. It was just the point type. All right, I think we've got enough of a ridge here. We're getting close to the end. We'll at least put the first flute on this, or try. Like I said, I'm not putting a lot of stock in this. I'm still a little out of sorts and out of practice, but no, it's not Daysite. It's oh my gosh, Justin, if you're still in here, help me out. It comes out of the shale. It's you can find some of it in Fayetteville area, but it's mainly over by, well, north central. No, not Onondaga. This is Arkansas. Oh my gosh, I can. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, I'll think of it. Oh, I got to take one more flake right here, and I'll show you why. You see how that area right there, how that's kind of sloped to that? It's not real steep compared to this side. You see how much steeper these flakes are and how they really accentuate that, but this side over here is flatter. No, I know you guys are trying, and it'll come to me. I got to not think about it for a minute. It's not Pearson. It'll come to me. Anyway, that's the type that they, you know, that stone was what the Calf Creek site that was in Arkansas. That's the typology, you know, what they made it out of. Pitkin. It is Pitkin Pitkin chert. Well, Damien, I don't know if I've shared with you. I believe you're exactly correct, and I'm going to tell you my take on it. I believe that the paleo points were, for the most part, better made. And the reason that they were better made is because those paleo people were the true hunter-gatherers. They carried everything that they owned with them. Let me put it to you this way. If you had to pick the best of what you got to carry with you, and somebody says, here's a convenience store, you know, Pakistan folding knife or a buck knife, which one of those are you going to stake your life on? You're not going to carry an inferior tool. Well, when they're making their tools, that's why only the best of what they made the cut, because they were carrying that on their body to protect, feed, and, you know, shelter them. You're not going to carry stuff that's not up to snuff on that. So I believe that's why the paleo points overall, the workmanship was so much more important to them because their lives literally depended on it. Whereas if you live in a village or a community where you're growing some of your food and you're near a rock resource and you're near all your stuff, you have the ability to have a lesser tool because you're going to be in that same place and you can go get more and make more. But as a true forager, you never knew when you were going to come across good material. That's why you find a lot of the Clovis caches. They would get that material when they had it, and then they would hide it for the next time they came through that area so they'd have good material. So that's kind of my take on it. Anyway, sorry to... But that's why I believe that, you know, overall, now I'm not saying that, because there's some beautiful stuff out there. But oh yeah, there we go. That was 2 of the most important flakes I took on that whole piece right there. So now I've got a fairly nice ridge, if I can get it right there. And I'm going to try to take a flute off there. And since I made me a new flute that I'm trying, or a new jig that I'm trying out, because I have trying to go to a more natural. This is just a split piece of wild black cherry that I grooved out, and then I just glued a piece of leather in it. So I can set my, this is real similar to that one I had made out of oak, but I'm actually sending that one to Mr. John Tuttle as for him to try it out and work with it some. So this is, I think I used this one the other day for the first time live, and this will be the second time I've used it, so we'll hope for the best. Now I'm not wrapping this tight, I'm just trying to isolate and hold it there. You know, not putting a lot of force on it, just wanting to immobilize it. And then I'm just using an old, like a moose billet here. Tell you what I didn't do though. I could tell by the sound when it touched that. If you don't grind the tip on this and make it stronger than your fluting platform, it will give first here and you'll lose a lot of energy. So when I make myself remember, I want this to be a lot stouter. Yes, absolutely you do. When you've got it up against a block. Now, Blake, sometimes I flute freehand on these, and freehand you don't really need to do that, but if you've got it up against something, it better be stronger than what you're hitting, because if it's not, the flute will initiate at the tip instead of the base. So at the very least, make your tip wider than your fluting platform. Let me get this little piece off there. There we go. See, now I've got that ground off and rounded, and then there's my fluting platform. All right, let's get this sucker on here. And all this stick is for is just to keep this from moving or like dipping down like that when I strike it. Anytime that you have that happen, you lose a lot of energy. Make sure that's setting up against there. Like I said, guys, this is like the second time I've used this setup, so we'll see how it works. Now on the antler piece or the bone, then I'm going to wrap it tight because I want this part to stay right where it's at. And now everything's going to stay put. It is new. Justin, this is, like I said, the second time I've used it. I was trying to to make something that was a little bit more what I would call natural. This is a piece of split black, like wild black cherry, and I cut it down over the weekend and made this. Strap's too long, but I think it's going to work as well, if not better. That's the thing, I'm sending that piece to Mr. Tuttle, and I hope it works for him. But it's kind of like golf clubs or that kind of stuff. It's really not the tool that's doing it. It's I could do this with just about anything that isolates that, keeps it from moving, and allows me to hold it. So but it's the concept of it, you know, the isolation and not letting it move. But I've got to get used to the feel of this one. It's a little different. Well, we had a little bit of it came loose. I don't know what kind of flute we got. Yeah, but definitely the wrap is too long. Well, it stayed in one piece. Oh yeah, we got a great flute. That's about 2 inches up in there. So, you can see it. And it went right along that ridge that we created. And see, now I'll clean this up, bring it back to the other side, and I won't have time to do it today. And then build convexity on this side. You can see how the other side's kind of flat. So now I'm going to take flakes down this way on both sides to make a ridge here to get that, you know, that side to flute. Then once that's done, then I'll clean up the edges and the profiles and do the finished flaking work on it. But I think that a lot of people try to flute. Damien, thank you. I appreciate it. I think that you try to flute too late stages. You look at how thick this piece is still. You see it's got some body to it. If you let it get too thin, the vibration and the force that you're putting into that piece, it makes it harder to keep it together. You know what I mean? It's the mass of the biface actually helps me flute it without having as much of a chance of breaking it. And like I said, now since we set up everything to this side to create that ridge, now those platforms are actually already set up to start building that convexity the other way. So it's, you know, that's the part that I've been working on, was trying to figure out what I would call the quote-unquote system, you know, the way that they were doing it, and trying to do like ordered steps that made sense in the whole grand scheme of it. You know, if you finish out the blade almost completely and then you try to flute it, you've got a lot less mass and you've got a lot of vibration going somewhere. So you definitely, you know, it's going to cause you issues and you don't have any place to absorb that energy. And if your support's not perfect, then you're gonna break them. Now, I will caution, you know, say that I know that a lot of the people using the modern jigs and devices to flute with, they flute way later in the process because of the way that they're able to isolate that piece and to put that force. If you're using one of those Solberger type jigs and you're compressing that down and have it isolated where it's not going to move, then it's a lot easier to get that type of a removal. But if you're, you know, hand holding that and trying to put that much force into it, it's probably going to break on you. All right. Just grab a little. See, now you can see how flat that is? There's no convexity. If I tried to flute that now, that flute's going to spread out to those edges, and that's how you fold them in half. So what we're going to do, and these, I mean, like I said, these are not intended to drive in. These are almost straight down, 45-degree angle. And after I do a few of these, I'll show you what I mean. You'll see the ridge starting to develop on this side already. Hey, Billy. Yeah, I'm back at it. I'm doing Monday morning, 8 to 10, which we're about done with today. Then I'm going to do Wednesday evening from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then I'm going to do Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that way I'm going to hit, you know, early in the day, late in the evening, and then lunchtime. So that way, you know, as many people that are trying to catch me can, and it'll still let me get some stuff done around here. So thank you for asking about that. I'm going to cover that again here in just a minute before we get off the live. But all right, now I run that first set down there, and you see how that now has got that like a rounded ridge that's leading towards the middle, and this other side is still flat. What we're trying to get is that ridge again, the same as we had on that first side. Well, where do you live, Billy? Because this time of year depends on the region that you live in. Oh, goodness, man. You've had enough rain and stuff. I don't know if I'd even bother going Baton Rouge. Yeah, you're about 5.5 hours south of me. I don't know. All the rain down there, the rivers is going to be swollen, but the lake's going to be muddy. Sounds like a good day to stay inside and flint nap a little bit. All right, now guys, you'll see, now you can see, well, a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit of a rounded area right through here. Need to brush it just a little bit more. Make sure those flakes are way, you know, there's no way for that energy to try to curl out the side. Yeah, this one's a little bit more sketchy. I may have to do a little bit more setup. We'll flute it Wednesday night. Karen, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. See, I noticed a spot there that was, the thickness was leading out to the edge. And if you don't adjust that, then it gives that energy a place to kind of, yeah, no worries, Damien. Like I said, I've missed you guys. You know, it's been rough for my wife and I both here for the last several days. So all the kind words and the support and messages and stuff, guys, I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So thank you. Yeah, I'll set up this other side and we'll do that Wednesday evening. Right on, guys. Well, before everybody gets out of here, hold up just a second. I'm going to shut down here in a minute, but at the 1st of May, I'm going to give this point to one of my subscribers. And we made this live here about 2.5 weeks ago on one of the lives. So Folsom Point, it's made out of Georgia jasper. I'm going to give that to one of my subscribers. I'm going to draw from all my active subscribers for this month. You don't have to be present to win, and I will contact you, get your mailing information, and send that to you at my cost, just as a thank you. So if you'd like to be eligible for that, there's a few days left in the month. Hit the subscribe button, and your name will be in the drawing as well. So I appreciate you guys hanging out for a little while with me this morning and supporting and all that stuff. I appreciate it, guys. So that being said, I hope everybody that's in the path of these possible storms and stuff coming through. Leo, thank you for the follow. Right on. Thank you, Damien. I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if like I said, that's all you need to do is be an active subscriber during the month of April. I don't care if it's the last day. If you're a member of or a subscriber of the channel, you're in the drawing. So just as a thank you for everybody that supports the channel. So guys, keep an eye on the weather. There's supposed to be some storms coming through today. And take care of yourselves, those around